Basara was an ugly, brain-rot loser who was hiding his god-level powers till he started clapping demon girls. Years ago, he got kicked out of the hero clan for being so OP that he wiped out both his enemies and his fellow heroes. Because of this, he and his father ran away to the human world to live miserable, riskless lives until his father suddenly gave him 2 demon stepsisters to make an Alabama harem. The girls introduced themselves as Maria and Mio, and when Basara asked about their mom, Jin said she was overseas for the meantime, which was rather suspicious. Basara woke up the next morning only to find Mio on top of him, saying she wanted to wake him up by servicing him, after which she proceeded to bounce on little Johnny's location while wearing a happy expression on her face. As the sight of her massive plots made him glitch, she noticed something was hard underneath the sheets, so she reached out for it hastily, only to disappointedly find a DVD, but she fell backwards before reading it. When Basara checked it out, he discovered it was a forbidden love game, which was the perfect guide to his new life. Unfortunately, Mio thought having such a game was all on the confirmation she needed to call the creep exterminators, but he protested and tripped on his sheets, causing him to fall on her, so she cracked his left balls with her knee. She then left the room angry, leaving Basara in pain as he recalled how enthusiastic his dad was about starting a new family that he had to buy a new house and made him switch schools. Jin added that the girls had been through a lot, which made Maria skip schools, so he urged Basara to be a model on each. He then headed downstairs to the kitchen, where he greeted Maria, who was cooking before opening the fridge for some milk he ended up spilling when he noticed she was dressed like she was the main course to be eaten.
I'm gonna come. Oh.
The cultured girl got the clue, so she spinned around to reveal that she wasn't completely plotless underneath the apron. She tried to tease his virgin mind that must have eyes stripped her, and then she asked if he saw the game she left as a present for him. This got him angry, seeing that her mind was more dirty than an adolescent boy addicted to socks. However, she seemed to enjoy his reactions. She even asked if he wanted to skip the game and do it with her in real life. But before he responded, Jin walked in and asked why they were shouting, to which she responded saying that Basara was about to do it with her. Mio also walked in and announced that he had already gotten freaky with her earlier on, so the girls took turns ruining his morning, while Jin simply walked away like everything was completely normal. They then headed outside to take a family picture where Mio smiled for the first time, which was a bit surprising to Basara, and after setting the timer, Jin joined the frame. That afternoon after shopping, Basara left Mio behind so he could locate his bike, and as expected, she attracted some delinquents who surrounded her immediately. She stopped them from touching her, promising to end their bloodline, but they thought she was joking. When Basara showed up, they asked why his name sounded like a toilet cleaner brand,
emotional damage,
and immediately helped him out with his bike tires. As the others were about to retaliate, he poured curry powder on them before riding off with Mio like her white knight. On their way home, they stopped at a spot with a good view of the city where they admired the scenery. He then went on to give a lame speech of how he'd protect them even though their parents weren't officially married, but Mio wore a gloomy face throughout his depressing speech. She then stopped his rambling and said he was being cheeky, but she liked how he handled the goons from before. Back at him, Basara watched as Jin packed his work gadgets since he was traveling to Dubai for a shoot immediately. He watched as Jin took a cab and zoomed off, after which he went back into the house. The lights suddenly came off, so he tried to locate his stepsisters in the sitting room. On getting there, he asked what they should eat but noticed their cold attitude, which made him assume they were scared of him. He asked if they wanted to order pizza, but Mio, with a straight face, asked him to leave the house. As he asked her to repeat her words, Maria used a wind spell to pin him to the wall for some moments. She walked up to him and asked why he wasn't peeing his pants, having witnessed magic. And then she proceeded to transform into her succubus form while revealing that she was a demon. As she changed from a chair-high midget to a demon loli, Basara asked if Mio was also a demon, and she announced that she was the future demon lord. For some reason, Maria began giving Basara a lecture about the existence of gods and heroes and how Batman was real. She said they planned to use the house as a base of operation, which meant that they brainwashed Jin into taking them in. They told him to go stay with a relative. However, Basara was saddened by their deceit and asked if Mio had been pretending all along. She told him to make himself scarce, after which Maria cast a brainwashing spell on him. But he didn't become their zombie as expected. Instead, he blitzed past Maria to show up behind both of them. Maria prepared to blast him away with a spell, only for Basara to summon a sword that he used to negate her magic. He then announced that he was a hero, However, Mio argued that the hero clan were all supposed to be in their hidden village. He refused to tell them jack shit about his condition and moved to finish them off for good, but he stopped at the last seconds before telling them to make their deceitful scarce. He then went to his room where he tried to control the power from his hands that made him recall a traumatizing memory. When he finally calmed down, he reported everything to his dad, who said that he was already aware and was just pretending since he had already been monitoring them before they approached him. He said the hero clan had their eyes on Mio, who was the daughter of the previous demon lord, who was a rather peaceful man. This made the war-hungry demons hate him, so they had to eliminate him. However, he already sent his child to the human world before the coup, which meant that she would be in danger from both heroes and demons. Meanwhile, Mio and Maria were now practically homeless demons who were planning to re-strategize. Maria was already thinking of the closest trust fund kid to brainwash, but Mio told her to stop deceiving people. Just then, they sensed a warding spell being activated and immediately some beasts showed up, causing Mio to activate her flame magic. While the beasts pushed them around, Jin told Basara to protect the girls since they were the best shot to stop the ongoing war between demons and heroes. While Mio could also use lightning magic, Maria was making Saitama look like a joke. Mio also took care of the last Ripper demon using electricity, but it showed up behind them and sent her flying down a cliff. As her life flashed before her eyes, Basara saw her flying down and rushed to catch her like his life depending on it, before slaying the Ripper demon that sneaked up from behind. As things calmed down, they asked why he saved them, so he showed them their family picture and said their home would be modeled after Alabama. At home, when Maria asked why he saved them again, he handed her a glass of juice and told her to feel at ease. She drank it since it didn't make sense for him to poison them after saving them from the beast. However, she still wanted to know why someone from the hero clan showed mercy to the demons like them. Basara then revealed that it was Jin's idea to shelter them since he was aware of their circumstances. Although he added that Mio was too hot a chick to turn a blind eye to, Maria was more concerned about the hero clan who could be watching them. So Basara explained that they have had no relation with the hidden village for 5 years. She was about to ask what the hell they did that made them live as measly humans, but he cut her off by asking why Mio was staying extra long in the bathroom. So she told him Mio was trying to properly wash his stinking sweat from her skin, after which she headed off to arrange their belongings. Meanwhile, Mio came out of the bath still terrified about the incident as she cursed herself for being weaker than an NPC having been saved by Basara. As she slowly lost herself to dread, Basara knocked at the door and apologized for lashing out at them when he didn't know their situation. Before she could respond, she lost power supply to her brain and suddenly collapsed, so Basara had to open the door to check on her. She, however, regained consciousness fast and slapped his creepy hands away when he offered to help her up. She scolded him for apologizing to them since they were in the wrong for deceiving him, but he said he also hid his identity as a hero from them. He said he didn't consider them bad demons since they could have unalived him instead of their sad attempt at brainwashing him. Even though she still had her reservations, Basara tried to make her feel at ease by calling her family and vowing to protect them. But that's when dirty-minded Maria interrupted their bonding, saying she was delighted that Basara was strong. He quickly stopped her saying he was no Jigga-Chad, but she reminded him that he was able to negate her magic. However, he said it was a fluke before walking away looking like she touched a nerve. Later that night, Mio brought out a photo of her dead family who were barbecued before her eyes, but then Maria showed up to check on her. They then discussed if they would allow Basara to babysit them in the pretext of playing family. So Maria gave her the new family photo and said that Jin and Basara were honest allies they were lucky to have encountered. She then switched topics and immediately took everyone to a magic circle. She drew in hopes that Basara and Mio would form a master-servant pact. When he asked why such a pact was even necessary, Maria said it was simply a formality meant to entangle their souls, allowing them to sense each other, which would make his job as Mio's protector easier. Basara argued that a GPS device would suffice, but the midget lashed out at him until he gave in. She then revealed that the pact could only be formed during a full moon, and when Mio gave her consent to do it with him, he also agreed. To begin, Maria announced that since Mio was magically incompetent, she would support her. She told Basara to kiss the magic seal that would appear on Mio's hands. However, the seal showed up on Basara's hands, causing Mio to freak out Maria since it meant she would take the servant role instead. Maria told her to complete the pact since it was only useful for its GP's function, but Mio screamed saying she won't be Basara's slave. Asura then drew their attention to the magic seal that was about to disappear, but before they could do anything about it, the seal vanished, after which a collar appeared on Mio's neck, causing her to grow weak knees. When Basara touched her, she screamed in pleasure, so Maria revealed that the curse was taking effect. She explained that since Mio didn't kiss his hand, it was a sign of rebellion, and that's what activated the curse that could easily be resolved. She added that she was a succubus, which made Basara take a step back from the demon, known to fulfill every degenerate loser's plot fantasies in their dreams. She said since she used her magic to amplify the pact, Mio was suffering from a curse with a sus effect. Seeing Mio glow red as she tried to hold her floodgates, Basara asked what he could do. So Maria said he had to make her submit by touching Mio until her heightened senses were properly stimulated. She looked happy, saying what was about to play out, as she even promised to capture the whole show in HD. She then instructed him to begin before the pain took her to heaven, but he pointed out the big guy wouldn't let a demon up there. Seeing that he had no choice, he moved to touch her, but starting with the arms before moving his way to her racks, which got her screaming happily. While Maria cleaned apple juice from the floor, she apologized for not saying anything about the curse, but surprisingly, Basara wasn't mad. I mean, how could he be? However, Mio grabbed her from behind like a pissed ogre and dragged her into the room for her punishment. The following day, while they walked to school, Maria said she'd be on surveillance duty around the school. When Basara asked if people wouldn't mistake her for a lost child, she showed them her fake driver's license, which meant that she could move around freely. However, he wasn't convinced she'd be fine. When it was just Basara and Mio in school, she told him to keep his loser energy to himself when they were in class, and he agreed to do so. He first headed to the faculty room to introduce himself to his homeroom teacher, who looked well-drawn for an irrelevant NPC teacher. He then went to class to introduce himself and begged them not to make fun of his awful name. He noticed the class rep looked familiar, and once the teacher left, she hugged him, causing the class to erupt in shock. Mio also freaked out, but it seemed Basara was just as confused, so he had to take a closer look before he recognized her as his childhood friend Yuki. Mio then interrupted them, saying acting cozy in public was a stretch, but Yuki said it was normal for them. This got her so mad that she ended up announcing to the entire universe that they lived together in the same house. As a result of his unfortunately Lord of the Riz demonstration, he became the #1 public enemy of the male demographic. When he tried to talk to Mio, she told him to eat dirt or flirt with Yuki for all she cared. A guy called Takegawa then approached him and took him to the roof, probably to do sus things or bond. There, Basara complained that every guy in class now hated him. However, Takegawa revealed that he had made an enemy of not just the class, but the entire school, since Mio and Yuki were the hottest baddies everyone worshipped as the academy idols. Basara then asked why he was associating with him, since he could be targeted, but Takegawa told him he'd ditch him faster than a guy trying to escape child support bills if things turned out bad. He also added that he looked like a fun guy, so he planned to see how things would play out. When school closed, the three met up, but Mio seemed like she was still pissed, so Maria had to ask what happened. Before they could sort things out, Yuki showed up and asked to speak to him alone, so they both went to a restaurant where she sat super close to him. She thanked him for coming and asked why he didn't squeeze her rice cakes like he used to when she hugged him. She then got serious and told him not to involve himself with Mio moving forward. It turned out Basara already knew she was an S-ranked target under surveillance by the village, so she asked why he was associating with demons, to which he said Jin had a thing for Maria the Lowly. Meanwhile, Mio and Maria, who were eavesdropping, were shocked to find out they'd been the progenitors of stupidity for leaving themselves open enough for the hero clan to stalk for months. Mio said it could have been obvious that Yuki was a hero when she announced she was Basara's childhood friend if she hadn't been more focused on Basara's Riz game. As she worried that Basara might betray them, the curse activated, so she began dancing like there was a rat under her skirt. At the other end, Basara tried to convince Yuki that Mio was anything but a threat, and that's why he was protecting her despite not having his abilities anymore. Just then, Mio made a scene and rushed out of the restaurant, so Maria followed her outside. Mio asked what she was supposed to do since Basara was helping her so much, so Maria suggested she not only have faith in him, but she could also ease his stress with her home service skill. Meanwhile, Basara reminded Yuki of the incident that got him banished from the village 5 years ago, and even though she claimed that it wasn't his fault, he didn't feel that way. Yuki tried to take the guilt off him, but he started blabbing about how Mio was different from him since she was confronting her past head-on. When they headed outside, Yuki said she was uncomfortable with him living with an updated version of Ria's creamery. She added that Mio was so weak that she wouldn't be able to fight off the demons after her, but Basara said he'd protect her without involving the clan. As he left, Yuki suddenly drew her sword and charged behind him to slay a demon that appeared. She revealed that Mio's innate powers were drawing stray demons to the human world, which meant that it was only a matter of time before she'd be instructed to eliminate her. She promised not to show mercy to them, even if he would hate her for it. So he went home to explain everything to the girls, who for some reason were more interested to know why he spent all day with Yuki. Maria said they thought he was hooking up with Yuki, which was an act that would dampen their trust in him, so he apologized. To strengthen their bonds, she took everyone to the bath, saying it was a way to make them get comfortable with each other. She went on about how they should wash each other's back, and Mio was the first to do so. She noticed the scars on his back, and as she washed him, Basara tried to stop her by talking about food, but Maria was miles ahead as she already brought in a piece of cake. As they argued, the cake ended up spilling on him, and the cultured girls ended up licking it off his body. He suddenly woke up from a dream beside Maria, who told him he was imagining things because a fountain of nosebleed erupted from him as soon as he saw them plotless. She told him to get his virgin hands off her rice cakes, so he went down to apologize, saying it wasn't intentional. The following weeks in school, Mio noticed Basara was on a sleeping spree, which made her scold his lazy ass. Tokigawa then told Yuki that the homeroom teacher wanted to see her and Basara for them to help him organize summer break assignments. Basara then asked if Mio could wait for him, and she said she would, but Yuki told him to go with her, saying she could handle the work herself. However, he said he had to obey the teacher, which got Mio imagining them together, making her curse activate in public, so she ended up collapsing. When he took her to the clinic, he met Kim Kardashian, the school nurse, who called him the school's Lord of the Riz, although he told her it was all a misunderstanding. She was then called to the faculty room, so she gave Basara the key to the room until Mio got better. Seeing Mio shrug in pain, he wanted to go fetch Maria, but she held his arm and told him to stay with her for emotional support. He then called Takegawa, telling him to help cover for him with Yuki, and he promised to. By that time, Mio was getting better. He finally asked what nasty thoughts she was thinking that had her curse activated, but she denied having any of such thoughts. Later that night, Basara found Takegawa still hanging around school, and when he asked how Mio was doing, Basara explained the situation before thanking him for covering his shift, promising to pay him back. He asked where Yuki was, but Takegawa revealed that she was nowhere to be found. Just then, the lights went out and Basara noticed some stray demons making their way inside. So he knocked the pretty boy out cold before summoning his sword, which he used to vanquish the demons. At the same time, Yuki confronted Mio on the roof and revealed her real identity as a hero to her. She ordered Mio to leave Basara alone, but Mio refused, saying he was her personal freaky onijin. Yuki immediately attacked her, but she blocked it with a magic shield and responded with a strong wind attack that Yuki stopped easily. They both began to exchange strong magic attacks over and over, although it looked like they were fighting for Basara rather than the whole demon-hero conflict. Yuki then got serious and shattered Mio's shield, just like my ex did my heart. She claimed Basara had lost his ability to fight, and he was in pain any time he wielded his sword, because he was still traumatized from the incident where he accidentally caught his companions in an attack. Basara, who was searching for Mio and hoping to find her before the unhinged Yuki did the worst, recalled that he had a GPS tracker, so he used the magic seal to locate her. Back in the roof, Yuki was about to slice and dice Mio when Basara showed up and began scolding them. Just then, a fourth party showed up and asked why Basara was trying so hard, to the protagonist of the anime. The masked man also revealed how Maria and Basara had been hunting down demons every night while Mio slept peacefully. However, Basara moved to shut him up with an attack, only to get blown away. Mio now wanted an explanation, so the masked man explained that they'd been fighting off stray demons attracted to her powers so that the hero clan won't deem her a subject for elimination. On hearing this, Mio felt bad only for the masked guy to make it worse by calling her a failure who should just hand over the demon lord's power. He then summoned a Ripper demon from behind Mio, but when Basara drew his sword to defend her, he reminded him of his dreadful powers, so he stopped his blade and used himself as a neat shield instead. As Basara collapsed from his injuries, the masked man named Lars mocked him for being a softie, but an enraged Yuki dispersed the demon and moved to attack him. But he dodged each of her strikes and told her to focus on her dying crush, who was bleeding to death. Lars also told Mio that her decision to stay in the human world would continue to put people's lives in danger. However, he presented her with a bargain before vanishing in a portal. They later took Basara home and managed to save his life, but Mio kept replaying Lars's words, which made her go out to get some air. When Basara woke up, Maria apologized for not showing up on time, after which she praised his ability to recover quickly. He asked if Mio was okay, and Maria said she was probably resting in her room. However, she screamed loudly, and when Basara showed up, she informed him Mio was missing. Basara went to rescue Mio. However, Maria was against it since he was still injured, but he ended up convincing her that he was fine. At the forest, Mio released her demonic aura to attract Lars, as she planned to settle things with him. She said he'd have to make her submit before unleashing a tornado of fire at him, followed by more attacks that exhausted her only for him to come out unscathed. She then summoned a ball of flame to continue the attack, but Lars told her he torched Basara's house if she continued to play Azula. She then surrendered herself to protect Basara, so he bound her arm and opened a portal to the demon realm only for Yuki to show up out of the blue. She then transformed into her warrior armor, swearing to avenge Basara, but all her attacks were blocked by a force field protecting Lars. She then switched to a charged attack to shatter his barrier, so he had to dodge her next strike by jumping to higher ground, where he then released a powerful spell she was barely able to evade. He conjured more balls that ended up overwhelming her with time, making her exhausted as she thought of Basara's heroics in the past. Lars then summoned a freaking meteor and was about to smash her with it when Basara showed up with his sword and slashed it. He used the skill Banishing Shift to tear into the giant attack and succeeded in banishing it to another dimension, after which he immediately moved to attack Lars in repeated successions until he acknowledged him as a foe worthy of eliminating. When he attacked with his small balls, Basara counted them to create a smokescreen that allowed him land a surprise attack on Lars, who was only alive thanks to his self-activating force field. He quickly understood Basara's limit, so he resorted to physical attacks that couldn't be countered by his sword. But Maria showed up to sucker punch him so hard, he flew down, allowing Basara to land some crazy attack combos on him until he disappeared. Once things calmed down, Maria was crying her eyes out so hard that it caught Basara's attention, causing him not to notice the demon that stabbed him from behind. This sight made Mio's powers go out of control as she began to destroy everything in her vicinity with an anti-gravity power. Basara tried to reason with her, but she said it was taking all she had to hold back her inherited powers. She asked him to delete her from existence before she destroyed the human world. However, he refused and made a speech about how family must stick together. He then drew out his sword while focusing on erasing just her magic, which he managed to pull and succeeded in saving her in the process. The following day, Yuki showed up at their house and asked to see Basara, but Maria claimed he was sleeping, having pushed himself so hard. Yuki handed her a medicine before leaving despite being invited in. As she walked home, she realized Basara could now control his powers, which meant that he was ready to confront his past. Days passed and Basara was able to resume school thanks to Yuki's medicine, and the first thing he did was go to the roof to meet Takagawa, asking if he was alright. He thought Basara was referring to the night when he elbowed him in school, but Basara said he recalled cutting him some days back. He tried to play ignorant, but when Basara attacked him, he dodged it and revealed he was actually Lars. He then got ready for a confrontation, but Basara said he'd like to negotiate with him instead of fighting. He'd explained that since Lars was supposed to be monitoring Mio until she awakened, it'd be bad news if the acting demon lord found out that he failed. He suggested they pretend like nothing happened, so the demon lord doesn't send someone stronger. But when Lars asked why he'd trust him, Basara claimed he could have won the previous battle if he was serious. Lars decided to play his game since it favored him, but before he left, Basara asked if he knew the person that barbecued Mio's foster parent, to which he responded that it was a powerful demon called Zoljia. As he left, Mio showed up and said she wanted to thank him for saving her life, so she moved to kiss him. However, before he could lock lips, Yuki drew him back, saying he shouldn't fall for her demonic seduction. She gave him a boxed lunch, and when Maria showed up, she turned the scene into a competition, saying Mio must feed him to win Yuki. As they argued, Mio's curse activated, so Maria went on about the various sus ways he could relieve her. However, the topic intrigued Yuki so much, and when she learned that they had a master-servant pact, she freaked out, saying Basara belonged to her. Meanwhile, Jin seemed to be cooking something in secret, and it didn't seem to be something that would favor Basara. The following day, Basara was woken up by Maria, who was under him, and it took a while before he realized what the midget was doing. It turned out she was completely plotless and took her time teasing Basara, who unfortunately wasn't into her type. So he spanked Head and told her to buzz off before he did something that'll make Rito of Healer look PG. He then went down to use the bathroom only to find Mio inside, and of course she was about to scream when he held her mouth like old times but ended up slipping on the floor, causing them both to fall in convenient positions, so she backheld him like a freaking horse. She tried to scold him, but he argued that she didn't put the bathroom sign up. However, Mio wasn't buying his lies. Once he explained properly, it was clear that someone else took off the sign, but she was so pissed that she electrocuted him, hoping to revive his dead brain cells that couldn't understand privacy. While he sulked in the bathroom, Yuki showed up out of nowhere and acted like nothing was wrong, even though she was practically naked. Basara was quite uncomfortable with her around him, since he didn't want her to see his baby Johnny. However, she took offense, saying she must bathe with him since Mio had her chance, so she took off her towel and forced him into submission. While she washed him, Mio stood at the door to apologize for overreacting to the slippery accident that had him grabbing her moneymakers. This news annoys Yuki, who didn't want Mio to pull one over her. Unfortunately, Mio noticed a girl's uniform and asked who owned it, so a desperate Basara lied about emulating Lomax, but she went in to catch the dude red-handed. She was about to roast them, but her curse activated, so Maria showed up with a camera ready to make some money off them, before Basara immediately kicked her out, fearing that she'd go out of control. Later that day, he took Takegawa out for lunch in an expensive restaurant and claimed he was simply repaying a favor. As they feasted on the perfectly grilled barbecue, Takegawa asked if he was really Jin's son, so when he asked if his dad was famous in the demon world, Takegawa explained that Jin was so strong that the previous demon lord stopped the war to avoid battling him. Takegawa then added that the demons would be sending reinforcement to join him in observing Mio, who might have already awakened her demon lord powers, so their truce might not last much longer. He was on to reveal that the reinforcement might be a lot stronger than him, so he should use his master-servant pact with Mio to its full potential, because it not only avoids betrayal but could also make both parties stronger. While they discussed, Kim showed up and asked to join them, and of course they couldn't say no. She said a guy they modeled King Kong after was hitting on her, so she had to leave her reserved spot before she lost her appetite. After eating to their fill, Basar and Kim were walking home when she revealed she overheard their conversation about demons, but he claimed they were talking about a new game. He added that even though it was a game, he had to be serious, and that's when she suddenly hugged him so hard that he found himself explaining his complex family situation with Mio and Maria, as well as his fearsome powers. She ended up giving him some advice and a kiss on the head, after which she chanted an incantation but said it was a good luck charm. A few days later, Lars welcomed his reinforcement, a stylish monster called Valga. He was about to hunt for Mio immediately, but Lars told him the hero clan were also on the move, so they had to be careful because their heads would roll if something happened to Mio. Despite the warning, he still left immediately, while another demon who works for Zoljia showed up immediately after. He recognized her as Zest, Zoljia's right-hand woman. However, she made it clear she wasn't there as his reinforcement. Instead, she had a special mission that'd need his cooperation. That night, Basara asked Maria the truth about the pact she made in form with Mio, so she came clean, saying they had to make sure the demon lord's power didn't fall into the wrong hands, and that's why it was important to be able to locate Mio at all times. Seeing that the pact was so important, Basara gave up on removing it during the next full moon, so Maria took it upon herself to help them cultivate trust. She ended up making him watch a dirty video that would turn him from a clueless virgin to Nick Cannon. Despite pretending not to be interested, he still watched it to the end, and even began part 2 with Maria. Here she made him understand the importance of being forceful with Mio, but Mio unfortunately walked in on their ungodly conversation and dragged the little devil away to be punished. At the same time in town, a demon from Five Nights at Freddy's almost attacked a woman, but was vanquished by a group of heroes. They claimed that the village elders had upgraded Mio from a subject of observation to that of elimination. The following day in school, some seniors led by a jigga ugly dude wanted to know how he scored Yuki and Mio, but before they could bully him, they were interrupted by a teacher. Once they left, Yuki showed up saying she called the teacher to save his storied ass. She asked if he had plans for the weekend, and when he said no, she asked him on a date while the other heroes watched and wondered when Yuki grew some balls. The following day, Basara and Yuki went on their date in a mall where a super enthusiastic sales girl wanted Yuki to try out every piece. Just then, Basara felt a presence watching them, but he brushed it off. Mio also showed up out of the blue and claimed that she and Maria were shopping when they saw him. And although Besara had no problem with her presence, Yuki was visibly pissed. She then approached Mio and asked her to help her select some outfits, which she gladly did while Besara watched like a proud dad. Mio was soon pissed when she learned that she was helping Yuki prepare for her next date, but before Yuki could speak, Kurume grabbed her away. Outside, Besara and the others tried calling her, but she didn't respond, causing Besara to wish he did the master-servant pact with her, as he could easily use it to locate her. As he worried for her safety, they noticed a warding spell followed by a wind attack that Besara helped them dodge. Pink Lips Valga showed up like an animated teddy bear and called Mio a weakling who was wasting the Demon Lord's power. His presence made Besara assume Yuki's disappearance was his doing, and he gladly accepted the blame, causing Besara to launch at him in anger, but Valga had some impenetrable arms of steel. He punched Besara, who dodged but still got blown away by the pressure from his swing. He came down ready to make drumsticks of Besara's legs, so Mio fired some weak flames at him, followed by a serious punch from Maria, but Pro didn't even flinch before punching her away disrespectfully. As Besara caught her, he fired pressured air at them, so they had to keep dodging his unwanted fists of love. The Pink Lips ugly then released a charged attack at Mio, but Besara deflected it with his sword, causing him to be so impressed that he charged his right hand like a super wanker. However, he got frozen from behind and was shattered to pieces of ice by Takashi the hero. Besara also noticed Shiba, a sly hero with thin eyes, who claimed they had orders to eliminate Mio. Takashi scolded Besara for taking a demon's side, and he even got attacked by Kurume, who called him a traitor to the hero clan, while also revealing that they had Yuki in custody. They made it clear to him that he was no longer their comrade, so they wouldn't hesitate to terminate him if he interfered with their mission. Regardless of the threat, Besara held his sword ready to fight, while Kurume prepared to attack. But then, Shiba destroyed the isolation barrier like it was glass, and told everyone to calm the hell down. He said it would be wrong to destroy the city in a battle like the Justice League usually does, so he'd prepare a special space for them to battle in a week's time. That night, Besara reported what happened to his dad, who told him to be careful about Shiba, because the overpowered freak was an unhinged psychopath the hero village imprisoned until recently. He also told him not to let his guard down when battling Yuki, but Besara wanted to know why he was encouraging him to go against the village, so Jin explained he didn't care since they were casted out of the village. Days passed, the team spent their time training to improve Maria's battle efficiency, while Besara took his time showing Mio why a bra strap was stronger than her. While resting, he warned them about Takashi's ice spear Dako, which housed a guardian beast. Mio thought the situation was hopeless, but Besara claimed they had a shot if they controlled the direction of the battle. This was because Bako was a spirit of the west, which meant that he couldn't attack facing the west. Kurume, on the other hand, was a spirit summoner, who can fight as much as she wanted without expending her own magic. Luckily, she would only be able to access wind spirits because of Bako's presence in the area. Elsewhere, Kurume was scolding Yuki for getting attached to Mio despite being the younger sister. She reminded Yuki how she worked hard to be recognized by the village and wondered why she was wasting her time on a traitor. Takashi was also eager to fight Besara, his childhood buddy who he grew to hate after his powers wiped out their friends from existence. That night, Maria served Besara tea while dressed like she had other plans.
Oh my.
She suggested he subdued Mio some more since the pact would help him grow stronger. However, he disagreed, saying he wanted to develop trust with her in a more decent way since he was now her own Ichin. Since he didn't want to do it with Mio, she then got close to him, saying that he could make her stronger by letting her lick the lust off his body. Unfortunately, Mio showed up to their party, so Maria intentionally tried to make her pissed, but she controlled herself well enough so that the curse didn't activate. Instead, she said she'd do whatever she had to do to get stronger, so Besara didn't have to hold back. They then went into the room where Maria even gave them a cup of maple syrup to make things more enjoyable. The following day in school, he linked up with Takagawa on the roof, but he seemed to know of their battle with the hero clan without Besara telling him. He asked to know the venue, but Besara said it was the heroes that were going to choose it. Takagawa said he might interfere with the battle if Mio's life is threatened, and this meant that he'd have to eliminate Yuki too. Before he left, he told Besara to make sure he wins so he wouldn't have to step in. But Besara also told him to prepare for the worst if he attacked Yuki. In school, Basura was approached by Yuki, who told him to withdraw from the battle to avoid the village's wrath. However, he promised to protect Mio at all cost. So she shifted back and announced the location of the battle. As she left, he held her back and gave her his house spare key, saying the battle won't be the last time they would see each other. That evening, both sides met up at the designated location where the battle was to take place. To begin, Takashi and Mio combined their magic to create a neutral, isolated space devoid of humans and cars, and even Sheba was taken to the regular world so he wouldn't interfere. Takashi signaled the attack, causing Basara to clash blades with him, while Maria and Mio also ganged up on Takashi before he landed. Kurume used her wind ability to yeet Basara up so high in the sky, giving her the advantage so that she could use the momentum to wind slam him to the ground. But he turned himself to freaking Machine Man to absorb the impact of the fall. Seeing him having a countermeasure for her attacks meant that she was his target, but she claimed he must have some screws loose to challenge her alone. At the other end, the girls lured Takashi into a dark mall where they tried to distract him by tossing dolls randomly in his direction before Mio launched a surprise attack that pushed him back, followed by a superb combo move. He got serious and slammed his rod on her, but she took it like an experienced. However, she miscalculated and Takashi was able to activate Dako at close range, which pushed Maria back. As he boasted, thinking he had outsmarted them, Mio showed up from behind to waterbend the pipes around. Outside, Basura was still toying with Kurume, who thought she was the last airbender as she floated in the air. Basura suddenly went behind her and used the back of her sword to attack her, but she blocked it and slammed him on the wall in anger. Seeing that she wasn't playing around, he got serious and turned the front of his blade, which he used to erase her attacks and even restricted her access to the spirits at the same time. He then struck her like a flying piñata, but as she fell to her death, he caught her before she dyed the floor red. When they landed, she blushed like an overripe tomato and told Basara not to underestimate her. However, the Rizzler praised her for becoming so strong. Just then, Yuki showed up looking emotionlessly and charged towards Basara with so much speed, but he stood and let her reconstruct his face. She then knocked him out with an elixir that she claimed would knock him out for the rest of the day before walking away. At the other, it took Mio a lot of magic to trap Takashi underwater. However, that wasn't enough as he drained everything out in a few seconds to reveal Bayako could also control the wind. He then blasted a hole on the roof thinking that he took them out with the attack, but the girls managed to escape into town. He chased after them, and as they exchanged attacks, Yuki suddenly attacked him with her wind slashes. He told her he won't hesitate to incapacitate her if she interfered, but he also wanted to know why she was siding with Basara after what he did in the village. She told him she didn't forget, but what they were doing was more like repeating the tragedy of harming their friends. They then began to fight and Mio wanted to help Yuki out, but Maria stopped her, saying she was still weaker than an NPC, so she should play her useless female lead role by motivating Basara in his subconscious. While Kurume was taking care of Basara, she was busy fantasizing about his manly features when she noticed he was still being traumatized about the events of the past. When Mio showed up, she told her mummy had arrived and ignored her presence while focusing on Basara, who was still unconscious. She began shaking Basara in an attempt to wake him up, but the man was busy dreaming about his past in the village. With the power of friendship, she showed up in his subconscious and used her plots to suffocate him until he woke up back in the real world. Meanwhile, shameless Takashi was busy manhandling two girls at the same time with his long rod. Despite that, Yuki channeled motivation from her childhood memories with Basara and charged towards Takashi, who blew her away like a lightweight. He followed her ready to finish her for good, but Basara showed up at the nick of time. He asked why Takashi was beating up Yuki, who was supposed to be his childhood friend, but Takashi said he had warned her to stop cosplaying as his waifu, Saber from the Fate series. Takashi got ready to attack, but Basara lowered his sword like he had a plan. As Takashi attacked, he avoided his strikes like he was an amateur, quietly biding his time until he suddenly disappeared and increased his speed so much that Takashi couldn't keep up. After a while, Bayako refused to move anymore, which was because it had sensed Takashi was in danger. The spear began to glow, so Basara triggered it more by attacking yet again, and this made Bayako react and sent both of them flying. It then materialized in its natural form as a guardian beast that wouldn't attack unless it was threatened. To break the barrier it created, Yuki volunteered to assist Basara even though she just had her handed to her by Takashi. She managed to convince Basara to let her before she charged her blades with full intent, and used all of her might to break the barrier, causing Byako to attempt swallowing her, but Basara used Banishing Shift to disperse the beast into the afterlife. After the battle, Takashi told them to end him, but Basara refused, so he started ranting about how Basara had been flaunting his curse technique around. So Mio slapped the blonde idiot for talking shit, and revealed that Basara had been fighting constant PTSD anytime he saw the sword. Basara told them to make themselves scarce, since Iwan and Shiba also showed up to command his crew to head home. He announced that their mission had been suspended because he let Bako out of control, so they had to lay low for a while to appease the other spirits. Despite this, Takashi was still acting defiantly like a spoiled brat, so Shiba had to terrify him with a look from his evil eye. He also told Basara to stand down when he tried to hold on to Yuki, so they had to leave before Shiba did the unthinkable. Days later in school, both Basara and Mio stared at Yuki's empty seat in class. Mio's friends interrupted her thoughts and asked why they were mourning Yuki, just because she had skipped school for a while. They also asked her to talk to them if she was being troubled, but she simply smiled and thanked them. As they headed home that afternoon, they passed through the spot of the previous battle, which ended up reminding them of Yuki once again. When they got home, Basara headed straight for his second home. The fridge only found Yuki cooking in the kitchen. He asked why she was not in the village, so she explained that the elders had reverted Mio back as a regular observation subject. When he asked if the village had forgiven him, she said their actions were influenced by a call from Jin. But this news made Basara worried, as his dad might have struck a deal with the village elders to save him. He then hugged Yuki tightly, so she held his face in an attempt to lock lips with him, only for Mio to arrive and ruin the special moment. On seeing her, Yuki grabbed Basara and told Mio to buzz off, since they were about to develop plot together. However, this infuriated her, as she claimed Yuki didn't even have the right to be in their house. Maria then showed up, and when Mio asked who let the man thief into their apartment, she said she thought it was the right decision since they had been worried about her. Yuki then revealed that she had permission to leave with them, which was breaking news, so she explained that observing Mio would be more effective that way. Maria then announced that she had set up an entertainment to welcome Yuki to their household harem. However, when they went to the seating room, she played a clip of Basara lubricating the plots of Mio, who looked like her floodgates had bursted open. Mio quickly put off the embarrassing clip while Basara asked when she filmed it, so she explained that it was customary to record sporting events. Mio screamed at her not to upload it on her Oath account, even strangling her to make sure she got the message. At the same time, Yuki took off her shirt and was about to ask Basara to do wonders with her plots. So Maria was about to go get her camera when Mio grabbed her by the neck so freaking tight. Yuki wanted to continue stripping, and even when Basara stopped her, Maria showed up to recommend that she use chocolate instead of maple syrup. Things soon calmed down, allowing the crew to explain that Mio's condition was a repercussion of the servant master pact they signed. Yuki seemed to know that the pact had GPS functions as well as to make them stronger. So Maria tried to paint Mio as something other than a hoe, but the dumb love-struck girl was doing a bad job at convincing anybody with the way she blushed embarrassingly. Maria then suggested Yuki also formed a pact, and this caused an outrage, while Yuki gladly accepted. The following day, everyone whispered behind Basara, who had Yuki and Mio walking beside him, as they fought for his attention by pressing their plots against him. Maria watched them with so much joy, like she was feeding off their lust. She suddenly heard a voice who instructed her to meet up behind the school, and she agreed to do so. At the changing room, Yuki was scoffing at Mio's watermelon-sized plots and compared it with her peaches while recalling Maria's theory that hers could grow bigger if they were fondled. Mio noticed her smirking, but she said she was looking forward to the pact ritual before walking away. While Basara was changing in the class, Takegawa noticed his battle scars and asked if he was using it to rizz up girls since his village could heal them up. He said not all scars deserve to heal, while also noticing Maria loitering around the school like Dora the Explorer. So he begged Takegawa to cover for him before leaving to stop Maria. Meanwhile, Maria had gotten to his classroom and was about to sniff his chair like a degenerate, but Basara showed up and smacked her head before asking what she planned to do with his desk. She said she could have placed a spell that made girls rub their plots against his desk, and this made him scream at her. She then suggested they check up on Mio, who could be in danger, and for some reason, the stupid boy agreed to accompany her. They soon arrived at the female toilet, where Maria wanted him to observe the place thoroughly, but as he hesitated, she sensed a presence that got her worried. so they both ran up to the roof as they prepared for an enemy attack, only to find a couple making out. Maria then took Basara down the hallway as she complained about the half-hearted romance that they didn't need to take off their clothes for. Next, she made him go to the girls' changing room to also inspect it from potential traps by the enemy. When she found Mio's locker, she brought out her undies and wore it on him like a crown for the king of creeps, but just then, they noticed the students returning, so Maria forced him to hide in Mio's locker. Inside, Basara complained that it was too tight. However, Maria couldn't care as she began stripping so she could take advantage of the rare opportunity. Mio soon opened her locker and was left speechless by the two stalkers, so she had to lock it first before lying to her clingy friends who were literally forced to leave. Mio then told the locker couples they had 5 seconds to dress up before she baked them with her flames, so they rushed out like shameless family disappointments. Once outside, Basara apologized to Mio and also said he would apologize to Yuki, but Mio got angry that he mentioned Yuki, and this made her curse activate. As she fell down, Basara was about to get into action, but Maria instructed him to be as rough as possible since it was a rare chance for them to get stronger. She even begged for it earnestly, so they had to move her to the bathroom. To begin, Basara took the faucet and opened it on Mio's hypersensitive body, which had her making happy noises even before he started working on her. He then unleashed the faucet underneath her swimsuit, causing the curse mark to glow, after which she collapsed from exhaustion. When school closed, Yuki met up with Basara and Mio, who were looking for Maria. When she asked why Maria was in school, they got flustered and quickly switched topics to something else. Basara then asked Yuki to go home with Mio while he looked for Maria, and she agreed. As she packed, she told him she was excited for the pact, but Mio didn't want her blurting another word. While Basara looked for Maria, he noticed her meeting up with Takegawa, so he ran fast hoping to stalk them, but ended up running into Maria in the building. As they walked home, he asked why she was talking to Takegawa, to which she responded saying that she got lost and had to ask for directions from a student. Her lie was so believable that Basara didn't suspect anything as he scolded her for always causing mischief. While they walked home, she suddenly asked him to hold her hands and he obliged her. Meanwhile, in the demon realm, Zest showed Zoljia footage of Mio's activities, including her private life with Basara. Rabbit-eared Grandpa noticed Basara erasing someone's magic, and this interested Zoljia, who hoped his curse of an ugly face could be erased. He then asked Zest to move their plans to the next phase immediately. Meanwhile that night, they got ready for the ritual, but Basara was more concerned about the girls who dressed like strippers. Yuki, who looked like a circus performer, said she didn't want to lose to Mio, while Maria claimed she didn't want Yuki to feel alone. Yuki then asked Basara to look at her, but he shut his eyes from the abomination and told her change. However, when she threatened to strip, he had no choice but to open his eyes. They then began the pact so that the crest appeared on Basara's hand, but instead of Yuki kissing it, she refused since she wanted to be cursed just like Mio. Once the seal disappeared, she screamed and fell on Basara, waiting to be dominated, and with a little persuasion from Maria, Basara began the devil's work while Maria excitedly recorded everything. Mio had no choice but to watch them, and to make matters worse, Maria live-streamed it so she could have a better view. After the first round, Maria suggested they switch scenes to the bathroom, but this time, Mio was going to accompany them in order to strengthen the bond of the family harem. While they goofed around in the bathroom, Zest, who was watching them, wished someone would also play with her happy place, so she left quickly. The following day in school, Mio and Yuki were now more coordinated than before, so Mio's friends felt left out. A ball was tossed to Basara, who couldn't use his hands well for obvious reasons, so Takegawa had to apologize. Together, they noticed how the girls were now besties, so Takegawa praised his training technique, but Basara felt embarrassed. He went to Kim, who dressed his injuries, and said she could also take his pains away with a different method. She also asked if he had overcome his PTSD. However, his response made it clear that he still had demons to fight. She started giving unsolicited advice like she was his mom or something. However, Basara tolerated her since she was a 10 out of 10. On his way out, he stumbled into Mio's green-haired friend, who asked if he was dating Mio, and when he said no, she made a move on him, saying she wanted to experience what he usually did to Mio. She started touching him and even pushed him down on the floor, but as she was about to go down on Basara, who was now intentionally a weakling, Mio and Yuki showed up in the scene. Mio ran away immediately so her curse wouldn't activate, while Yuki attacked the $2 hoe, who dodged her attacks with a backflip. Seeing that the girl could see her magic sword, Yuki assumed that she was possessed by a demon. She asked him to find Mio, whose curse might have activated while she took care of the green hoe. While Yuki moved closer to her, her friend showed up from behind thinking they had Yuki cornered, but that wasn't the case. Outside, Mio ran away while thinking of the scene she just saw, and this made her curse activate. Maria then showed up, and that's when Zest put her to sleep before appearing. Basara showed up and rushed towards them, however Zest spirited them away before he could cancel her magic. He then tried to search for Mio using the pact, but he could only locate Yuki. We're then shown Mio's time with her foster parents, which was ruined by the arrival of Zoljia, who diced her dad's hands while she watched. He then made him pop like a balloon before barbecuing her mom along with the entire house. When she woke up, she was in an abandoned warehouse with Maria, who explained that she saved her from the fire, and also revealed she was a demon, and she too was the daughter of the demon lord. In the present, Mio woke up chained in Zoljia's castle, and was welcomed by Zest, who took credit for bewitching her friends to isolate her from Basara. Zoljia also showed up and revealed that although he was loyal to the demon lord, he too wanted her power as well as her body. Mio screamed at him, promising to avenge her foster parents' death. However, he told her he'd pay $1 million to barbecue them in front of her over and over again. She continued barking at him like she could do shit in chains, but he got fed up and used his powers to seal her mouth, after which he moved to fondle her only to be interrupted by Maria, who revealed that he had a message from the demon lord. With the communication crystal, the demon lord asked where he was since he was supposed to be confined in his residence. He was told Mio was missing from the human world and asked if he knew what happened. However, Zoljia said he had no clue. He was then told to come to the royal castle, because there was a ruin that needed investigation by a veteran of ancient magic. And with that said, Zoljia made his way to the capital. Back in the human world, Basara met up with Takagawa and asked what he knew about Mio's abduction. Takagawa claimed that when he met up with Maria was when she betrayed them because she had to obey the rabbit-eared crone called Zoljia. He said Zoljia wanted Mio, so he had to make Maria fall in line by taking her mom hostage in his castle. He claimed Maria also undid the servant master pact on Zoljia's orders, which meant that she might be in danger. Basara begged him to reveal Zoljia's location to him. However, Takagawa said he couldn't, and this made Basara pull out his sword to attack him, causing the two into a heated battle that was regretful. Back at Zoljia's castle, Mio called Maria a betrayer, but she smiled and put her to sleep with her evil eyes. Outside the castle, Takagawa confronted Zest, demanding that she return Mio, and when she feigned ignorance, he offered her Basara in exchange for Mio. He explained that the deal would be favorable to them since Basara possessed a rare ability that could turn the tide of a battle. She didn't seem interested at first, but Takagawa teased her for being unable to decide for herself without Zoljia's instructions. He added that he could have told the demon lord about Zoljia's betrayal, but he wanted to avoid starting a war in the demon realm. He told her Zoljia's fate rested in her decision, of which she agreed, was true only for her to rip out his guts suddenly before burning him to crisp, to bury the evidence that he was present. Inside, Maria painfully watched Mio suffering as she couldn't do anything about it, since Zoljia had held her mother hostage. Just then, Zest dropped Basara in the hall where Mio was held, and she asked Maria to use her succubus powers to dominate his mind, which meant turning him to their puppet simp. When Basara woke up, he found himself in Zoljia's castle, but soon noticed some 50 shades of gray shit was about to go down. Maria then jumped on him and urged him to enjoy the moment, but he stopped her, saying they could still rescue her mother. She told him Zoljia was too overpowered for him to defeat, and that was why she betrayed them, and was about to make him call her mummy for the rest of his life. She then activated a magic circle where a key popped out to unlock her trump card, turning her into a mature succubus who would make Mio's plot look invisible. She claimed her powers in that form, enabled her to rescue Mio in the past so he didn't stand a chance. She then hypnotized him and took off his cuffs before ordering him to have his way with her. However, the spell only affected him for a bit until he started resisting her, so she retreated back in shock. As Basara drew his sword, she also armed herself. However, he struck the ground instead for some reason, which had her assuming that he wanted to fight her barehanded. This made her so pissed that a dark aura covered her as she directed an attack his way, but he showed up behind her. However, she had anticipated the move and sent him flying while begging him to stand down. Outside, the cloaking spell in the castle came undone thanks to Basara's sword. Meanwhile, Zest was watching the one-sided battle that had her wondering why Maria wasn't seducing him as planned. She began to fear for Basara's safety since he won't be of any use to them incapacitated. but just then, she was attacked from behind. As Yuki showed up, Zest realized it was Basara's doing and Yuki confirmed this, saying he allowed himself to be captured to allow her to track him. Yuki began the attack while Zest defended against her slashes before attacking with her dark magic that Yuki also countered. Zest then transformed into Batgirl and said she had the upper hand since they were in the demon realm. Just then, Mio also attacked despite being chained, so Yuki used the opportunity to free her from her shackles. She told Mio that Maria's mom was being held hostage, so she wouldn't fight, thinking Maria betrayed her for nothing. Zest also recovered and attacked by creating earth spikes from the floor, but Yuki jumped over them to continue attacking non-stop. She was beginning to overwhelm Zest, who then responded in kind to create some distance between them. Mio also attacked her from point-blank range, followed by a powerful slash from Yuki, but Zest somehow showed up behind them and bombarded Yuki until she was powerless. Mio then had to protect her with a barrier, causing Zest to stop attacking since she couldn't afford to harm Mio mistakenly. She then switched to an emotional battle, saying that Basara ignored her flat to rescue Maria, even though she betrayed them. Surprisingly, Mio admitted she felt bad, but she claimed it was in Basara's nature to save them over and over. As they talked, Yuki sneakily picked up her sword while Mio mocked Zest for serving an ugly and old master, who still didn't look her way. They ridiculed her for forcing herself on Zoljia, since she was jealous of their family harem. However, she denied it and unleashed a spell from underneath them which they managed to evade. Just then, the roof suddenly crumbled as a result of Maria's attack, so Yuki used the smoke screen to attack. At the other end, Basara had started coughing out blood. However, Maria still pounded his head back to the wall that was now looking like his custom-made coffin. He stood back up once again, which was beginning to disturb her. And that's when he pulled a talk no jutsu by reminiscing about the time they spent together. But she tried not to budge since she was being watched. Basara continued talking about saving her from herself, telling her not to give up, but she punched him one last time only for him to hug her tightly. Meanwhile, Zest was finally defeated, and when Mio asked if she decided to rescue her willingly, Yuki said she did it for Basara. They then ended up capturing Zest and were about to rush over to Basara when they suddenly froze thanks to Zoljia's gravity-controlling magic. When he saw Yuki a hero, he was excited to raise them up to create a new harem for himself. He then attacked Yuki and intentionally caught Zest in the attack. He called her useless since she couldn't take care of two amateurs, and in addition, he revealed that he knew she was jealous of the girls, so he used his magic to grab her by the throat while watching the life fade from her eyes. But then Basara used Banishing Shift to save her. He then launched towards Zoljia, only for his attack to be blocked like it was nothing. When he asked what happened to Maria, Basara told him to eat dirt, but this made him explain that they stood no chance against him without Maria's power-up. With her out of the question, he used his evil eye to take control of Basara's subconscious, hoping to steal his powers. Meanwhile, Maria sat helplessly on the bed as she recalled Basara's instruction, telling her to stay put while he rescued her mom. Back in the hall, Basara could not fight off Zoljia's mind control, which had him disappointed at Jin for nurturing such a weakling. He moved to claim Basara's powers, but Basara was able to move his sword at the last moment. Although Zoljia dodged his first strike, he launched behind him for a surprise attack that Zoljia blocked without even looking. As they clashed blades, he acknowledged his speed but continued to block his weak strikes before hitting him with one that had him flying. Zoljia moved towards him before attacking with his hellfire flames, and even though Basara tried to erase it, he still got blown away from the force of the attack. Zoljia was excited about obtaining his powers while he continued to engage in a futile attempt at swordplay. Zoljia soon vanished only to grab Basara with an invisible hand that then slammed into the ground so hard that his vision blurred. Still, he got up, so Zoljia made himself invisible once again. However, this time Basara focused his senses and was about to pinpoint Zoljia's location. Unfortunately, he couldn't cut the old who then shot at him at point-blank range, causing the girls to worry. He first charmed Basara by filling his mind with all the girls he was lusting after, including Nurse Kim. This made him lose his will to fight, but Zoljia noticed he was still resisting a bit, so he intensified his spell. Maria then showed up in her adult form and confronted Zoljia, who promised to add her to his harem, but she refused, saying his dong was too rotten. She resolved to fight Zoljia to death, but he quickly showed her the surveillance footage of her mom and told her to swear loyalty to him. When she refused, she noticed her mom had exploded like a bottle of soda with Mentos. He even told her not to feel sad since her mom died instantly in the electromagnetic chamber without feeling pain. This news made her break down, causing her to revert to her powerless lowly form. However, it caused Mio's powers to go out of control as she was reminded how cruel Zoljia could be. Her powers created a vortex that was pulling everyone except Zoljia, who badly used an anti-magic field to seal her powers back. As he moved towards Mio, Maria tried to attack him, but he froze her in her tracks. He was getting worried that it took too much magic powers to contain Mio, so he moved to quickly claim her powers. However, immediately he touched her, he was burnt by the power. He soon realized Mio had somehow tapped into her true innate powers that had him trembling like a scared rabbit. As she was about to barbecue him, Asura told her to stop seeking revenge, because she would only end up like him if she let herself get consumed by hate. As he moved closer to her, she begged him to stop her. However, he said she must make the decision herself to avoid her regretting in the future. He then hugged her to calm her down, so Zoljia used the opportunity to make himself scarce. Yuki wanted to go after him, but Asura told her not to worry about the old rabbit. Just then, Mio's mom also showed up unharmed, shocking everyone present. Outside the castle, Zoljia was just catching his breath thinking he had escaped when Takegawa showed up in front of him. He said Zest only eliminated one of his puppets and revealed that even Mio's mom he thought he popped was actually another of his puppets he swapped in instead of her. Takegawa claimed he made a deal with Asura beforehand, so Zoljia assumed he would report him to the acting demon lord. Takegawa then revealed that Mio's foster parents who he barbecued were actually the owners of the orphanage that took care of him during the war. Takegawa took off his mask and revealed that he was after his life for revenge. Back inside, they wanted to go home, but Zest explained that they were trapped because the mansion was a living beast that Zoljia tamed to enable him evade surveillance from the demon lord. As the place transformed into the belly of the beast, it became more dangerous for them to stay as they had to fight off spawning monsters. Outside, Zoljia was happy that both Mio and Asura were going to die inside the beast that would go on to feed off the life force of the planet. Back inside, they'd all fought off the smaller monsters inside the belly of the monster, since their lives depended on it. When they asked if the monster had a weakness, Zest revealed that it had a core that negates magic and physical attacks. Despite that, Asura wanted to try to erase the core with Banishing Shift, so Mio offered to clear a way for him with Yuki following suit. Maria wanted to accompany them, but she had to babysit her NPC mom who was shockingly smaller than her. With no other choice but to head for the core, Zest volunteered to show them the way, so they accompanied her into the deeper parts of the beast. As they ran in haste, monster traps began to attack them, so Asura fought them off. When they got to a dead end, she claimed that the beast was losing the form of the castle created with magic, so they could only go forward. She then burnt her way through until they got to a staircase that looked gross. It soon turned into a bunch of hungry monster mouths, and even the wall came alive as a self-defense mechanism. Yuki volunteered to hold them off, but Asura said it was too dangerous. She said she could take them on no matter the size and asked Asura to believe in her, and he agreed to. She then began fighting off the horde of monsters, while Zest created a hole which they passed through to another level. They got to a passage that had numerous clones of Zest, and when one attacked Mio, Asura rushed to her aid only for another clone to block his path. Zest then saved the two of them on her own, but more clones came alive yet again. Together, they'd fought with everything they had to vanquish every single clone present. When they were done, it dawned on Zest that she was merely a disposable object, so she showed them to the core with no regrets. Just approaching the core with evil intent had its sensitive defense beating the shit out of the three of them. In addition, the Snake Guardian could also spit acid that melted anything it touched in milliseconds. This defense mechanism terrified them. However, Zest walked in as she planned to draw in its attack so they could get an opening to strike. When Asura protested, she told them she wasn't a living thing, but Zoljia's creation with so many errors that she was abandoned. Mio tried to talk sense into her, but she ignored her rantings and told Asura to get ready. She then attacked it, allowing Asura to damage the core, which had the beast going on one last rampage as it shot beams all around before it fell lifeless to Zoljia's surprise. Later on, Zest found herself alive and realized Asura also saved her before he landed the finishing blow on the core. Meanwhile, Takegawa took Zoljia to a base where he slowly tortured him for his amusement. When he learned that someone else was coming, Zoljia was already planning how to manipulate them with his ability. However, he got the shock of his life when Asura showed up. Zoljia desperately attempted to make a deal with Basara, who gave him a cold stare no matter what he said, but everything quickly ended with Takagawa ending his ugly bloodline. Basara then went home where he noticed Zest was also present. Zest thought he was going to send her to create a hellfire harem with Zoljia, but he told her to live her life however she decided. Basara then went to check up on Mio, who was still awake. He gave her a cup of tea and was about to leave, but she held him, so he sat down with her for a while. She said she had already spoken to Maria's faction about Zest, and they promised not to punish her for Zoljia's crimes. Later that night, Scroop came to take Mio's mom and Zest away with a teleportation circle. Weeks passed and the group returned back to school, while also living as one big sus family. In the demon realm, the acting demon lord discussed the news of Zoljia's demise, and wondered what to make of the situation. When he went into his throne room, he saw a bunch of dead soldiers and Jin sitting on his throne so carefree, as if he owned the place. The demon lord immediately recognized him as the notorious Jin, and he immediately stood up to announce that they'd pay for messing with his family. What do you think Jin has planned for the young demon lord? If you've gotten this far, comment Alabama Harem. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. See you guys in the next video.